My alpha husband despised me. During my heat, he offered me as a gift to please one of his business partners. Humiliated beyond words, I jumped from the top of a high rise. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the hotel room, just before my death. "Stop fighting," someone outside sneered. "Michael said he doesn't mind getting you pregnant." I pressed my back against the bathroom door, trembling as I dialed Henry's number. The voice on the other end was cold. "Lucas." I swallowed hard, whispering through shaky breaths, "Uncle, please, help me." I stared at the metal hinges on the bathroom door as they began to twist under pressure. The howling wind from that 21st floor fall flashing through my mind. 21 floors, enough to shatter an Omega's body into pieces. And yet, I was here again, alive, back in this cursed hotel room. "Stop struggling. Michael said he doesn't even care if you end up pregnant." The disgusting sounds from the overweight alpha outside made my stomach churn. My nails dug deep into my thigh, the pain barely keeping the heat-induced chaos at bay. I wiped the tears off my face and braced the door with all my strength. My trembling fingers scrolled through my contacts until they stopped at the pinned name, Henry. A name I hadn't touched since my wedding day. "Lucas. Uncle, please, save me." A whimper escaped my throat, making me curl my toes in shame. There was a faint rustle of fabric from the other end. Then the ding of an elevator. "Wait for me." The line went dead, replaced by the flat beep beep beep. Relief washed over me. Henry had never once broken his word. I grabbed a glass, smashed it against the mirror, and wrapped a sharp shard in a towel. The door lock gave a loud crack. He was breaking in. I raised the shard, ready to fight for my life. With my eyes squeezed shut, the dizziness of my heat making me lightheaded, I thrust the glass wildly forward. My own heavy breathing filled my ears. But the struggle I expected never came. Instead, a warm hand caught my trembling wrist. I crashed into a solid chest. And the familiar scent of sake surrounded me. "It's me." Just 2 simple words, and my eyes instantly burned. When I opened them, Henry's sharp jawline was inches away. He looked down at me, lashes casting shadows under the light. His tie was crooked. He must have rushed here. It had taken him less than 15 minutes. The room was empty now. The alpha was gone. A dark red stain spread across the carpet. "Is he dead?" Henry's hand covered my eyes. "Leave it to me. Don't worry." It was the closest we had been in 4 years. I couldn't help but breathe in his scent, filling my lungs with it. All the filthy smells outside vanished completely. His shadow enveloped me entirely. The heat coursing through me made me shove him away suddenly. I stumbled back, shaking, as the warmth spread lower. And the dampness between my thighs betrayed me. I clenched my pants tightly, but clear liquid still ran down my leg, staining the carpet with dark marks. "What are you hiding from?" Henry's brows furrowed. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me back toward him. I whimpered, shame and desire tangling inside my head. "Uncle, don't look at me. Now that you've grown up, I can't look at you anymore." His tone was displeased. He pinched my chin between his fingers, forcing me to look up. I pressed my lips together, saying nothing. God knows how badly I wanted him to see every shameless bit of my longing. His nephew, wanting something he should never want. When his eyes caught the flush on my face, and the damp fabric clinging to my thigh, the man who was always calm and restrained froze for a second. "You're in heat?" His voice tightened. "Where the hell is Michael?" His Adam's apple bobbed as he reached for his phone. "I'll have my assistant bring suppressants right away." I don't know where I found the courage, but I suddenly grabbed his phone and tossed it into the trash. He froze, clearly not expecting that. His hand hung in the air mid-motion. I took his hand and pressed it against the small of my back. Then, hesitantly, I wrapped my arms around his neck and climbed onto him. His lingering scent of pheromones made my head spin. His body heat seeped through the suit fabric, and the faint trace of blood on his collar mixed with that clean sake scent, making my knees even weaker. "Uncle." "I don't want the suppressant," I whispered near his ear, brushing my tongue against his skin. "I want you." My voice was barely audible, but Henry's breathing grew heavier. His palm rested on my waist. He didn't push me away, but he didn't move closer either. I could feel him fighting it, but his alpha pheromones were already thick in the air, wrapping the room in that intoxicating scent of sake. "Lucas," he said hoarsely, "I'm your uncle, an adult alpha. Do you even know what you're saying?" I bit my lip and nodded, tilting my head to expose the back of my neck to him. That small gesture shattered what little control Henry had left. He lifted me off the ground, my legs instinctively wrapping around his waist as my back hit the cold wall. One hand slid to my nape, fingertips brushing over my burning gland. We stayed like that for half a minute, frozen, breathing uneven. He was reacting, I could feel it. Then why wasn't he doing anything? A strange ache welled up in my chest, and tears followed. "Uncle," I pleaded, voice breaking, "I'm not dirty. Michael never marked me, he's always hated me. Who gave you the right to talk about yourself like that?" Henry snapped. He never needed to know the details, he always took my side. He lifted me easily, one arm supporting me like I weighed nothing. Startled, I clung to his neck. "Michael isn't even worthy of standing in front of you," he said, anger roughening his voice. "Uncle, you're all I have left. Why haven't you come to see me these past few years?" I cried harder. "Enough. If you keep crying, you'll break my heart," he sighed. "My sister only has one treasure in this world, and that's you. If she saw you like this, what would she say, huh?" "My mom wasn't my real mother," I murmured through tears. "Uncle, it hurts so much. Please, mark me." He lowered his gaze slowly. "You're in your heat. You're not thinking straight. Be good, listen to me." His fingers tightened against me. "I am thinking straight," I whispered fiercely, clutching his collar. His heartbeat thundered against my chest, faster than mine. "What, you're waiting for Michael to show up? To drag me home?" I stuck out my tongue and licked his throat, right over his pulse. "He'll punish me again, throw me on the bed, pin me down until—" "Stop talking," Henry growled. I pressed my foot against him through the fabric of his pants, just hard enough to make him gasp. He didn't push me away. Emboldened, I leaned closer, rubbing the gland on my neck against his lips. "Smell it," I whispered. "My pheromones are mature now. You used to say I smelled like unripe green plums. Tell me, Uncle, do I smell like ripe, sweet ones now?" "Enough nonsense." He lifted me gently and laid me on the soft bed. "Lucas, when did you learn how to tempt people like this? Do you like this version of me, Uncle?" He sighed, his lips brushing my chin, leaving a trail of kisses down my jaw and trembling collarbone. Then he returned to the back of my neck, his teeth grazing my heated skin. His alpha pheromones grew denser, sweet and intoxicating, like aged sake mixed with ripened plum. It wrapped around me, warm and consuming. I tugged at my own collar, bearing a shoulder flushed pink from the heat. Every touch left a mark. I took his hand, lacing our fingers together, buried my face in the pillow, and murmured softly, "Bite me, Uncle." By the time I got home, it was already noon the next day. I sent Henry a message to let him know I was safe. Not that he needed it, he could sense where I was without a word. Michael stumbled out of the master bedroom, hair a mess, the collar of his pajama shirt smudged with lipstick from some Omega. "Not bad," he said lazily. That client was very satisfied. I froze for a moment, almost forgetting what he was talking about. "Oh really?" He smirked. "Thought you'd be crying your eyes out. Guess I underestimated you." "Did he tell you that himself?" I asked, my heart tightening. How had Henry dealt with it? "He sent someone to tell me." "Since when do you care?" Michael yawned, glancing toward the table. Then, like always, he kicked my leg lightly. Go make breakfast. 2 eggs, soft yolk. My eyes dropped to the dried stains on his pants, and nausea rose in my throat. The gland on my neck still throbbed faintly, the lingering trace of Henry's scent pulsing through my blood. I walked into the kitchen numbly. Dirty dishes from last night filled the sink. As the cold water hit my fingers, Henry's words echoed in my mind. He hadn't marked me completely, but his voice had been steady, full of quiet dominance. If you dare call yourself dirty again, I'll make sure you remember exactly who you belong to. You're mine. No one gets to hurt you. I couldn't stop the smile that curved my lips. Turning off the faucet, I stepped out of the kitchen. There's no breakfast today. What's your problem? Michael snapped, yanking my wrist. The bloodshot veins in his eyes stood out as he glared at me. That same look of disgust again. I'm tired, I said flatly. The motion tugged at the gland on my neck, making me flinch and pull my collar tighter. There were still faint bite marks there. Henry had made sure of that this morning. Wait, Michael growled, leaning in, nostrils flaring. You didn't shower after. Why do you smell like alcohol? I almost laughed. He couldn't even tell the difference between regular liquor and an alpha's pheromones. To him, I was just something to use, obedient, replaceable, worthless. Yeah, I said calmly, pulling free and walking toward the bedroom. Hey! Stop right there. Take one more step and... I didn't look back. Michael never cared for things that came too easily. Especially not for things with no value. And I fit both. I shut the door to the guest room. Silence fell again. We'd been married 4 years, 3 of them spent living apart. Lying on the cold mattress, old memories of that doomed marriage rose one after another. At the wedding, everyone's attitude had shifted the moment they saw Henry walk in as my family representative. They thought I'd married into power, and for a few months, they treated me well. But once they realized Henry and I never spoke again, they stopped pretending. Michael fired the housekeeper on purpose, leaving every bit of housework to me. He wouldn't touch me, but brought Omegas home every other night. Sometimes, he even forced me to watch. And when they were done, I had to clean the sheets. To outsiders, he played the perfect husband. At home, I was nothing but free labor. The buzz of my phone pulled me back to the present. It was an email, from his secretary. Attached was a divorce agreement. A second later, a voice message popped up. It was Henry. Lucas, his deep voice said, calm and steady. Where do you want our wedding to be held? 4. I packed up my few belongings and zipped my backpack shut. That afternoon, Michael couldn't open the door to the guest room, cursed under his breath, and slammed the door before heading out to have fun. Only when the sound of his car engine completely faded did I quietly step out, heading for the master bedroom. At the bottom of the wardrobe was a carefully wrapped leather photo album. I took it out gently, running my fingers across the cover. It was the only thing left that connected me to my parents, photos of them when they were young, and pictures of me as a child. I quickly tucked the album into my bag and hurried downstairs. Henry had called earlier, asking if I'd found what I needed and if he should come pick me up. I said no. The day I left the hotel, I didn't tell him what I went back for, just that I needed to get something in person. He'd gone quiet for a few seconds, like he wanted to say more, then only replied, "Be careful." Until the divorce papers were finalized, I didn't want anyone to see me with Henry. People loved to gossip, especially about alphas and omegas. A few careless words could destroy someone's life. Standing by the gate of the neighborhood, I felt the summer night breeze mixed with heat. The screen showed my taxi was still a kilometer away. The security guard at the duty booth kept glancing at me. I forced a small smile and nodded, heart pounding faster. Then, screech. A blue sports car came to a sudden stop in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Michael's dark, furious face. "Where are you going?" he asked, narrowing his eyes, his gaze fixed on my overstuffed backpack. "Why are you carrying such a big bag?" My body went rigid. My throat tightened. Just going for a walk. A walk? He gave a cold laugh, slammed the car door, and strode toward me. Lucas, you usually don't even carry a purse when you go out. Now you've got a huge bag? What's in it? I instinctively stepped back, but he yanked the strap of my backpack hard. Crash! Everything inside spilled onto the ground. Both of us looked down at the same time. Our eyes fell on the photo album. He froze for a second, then let out a bitter laugh. You're running away. And stealing my stuff? It's not yours. I bent down to pick it up, but he stomped on it with his shoe. Not mine. He grabbed me by the collar, raising his hand. You're mine. What could you possibly have that isn't mine? I squeezed my eyes shut, bending over to protect the album. But the hit never came. A loud honk split the night. Blinding headlights shone straight at us. The roar of an engine grew louder, then came the ear-piercing sound of metal crushing metal. When I slowly opened my eyes, a black off-road SUV had slammed straight into Michael's sports car, forcing it several meters away and pinning it against the wall. The SUV's front tires rolled over the crushed hood again and again like it was a toy. Michael stared, stunned. When he finally realized his limited edition car was now a pile of scrap, he clenched his fists, ready to shout. But the SUV door opened first. A long leg stepped out. Most people would have needed the footstep to get down, Henry didn't. He stepped out in one smooth motion, dressed in a suit, his eyes cold and sharp. Henry? Michael stammered, voice trembling, forgetting to even call him Mr. Henry smoothed the wrinkle on his shirt sleeve, his lips curling into a faint, icy smile. Tell me, who were you planning to hit just now? 5. Michael's expression shifted from anger to shock, then froze into a twisted attempt at flattery. Henry, sir, you're here. He stumbled back a step. Henry didn't even glance at him. He walked straight up to me, bent down, and picked up the album from the ground. He brushed the dust off gently and handed it back to me. Did you hurt yourself? He asked, taking my wrist and rubbing the red marks on it. I shook my head quickly, my heart beat loud in my ears. Michael's eyes darted between us, something finally clicking, but clearly not the whole picture. Henry, what brings you here? He said with a strained laugh. Lucas was being difficult, tried to steal something from home. I was just trying to teach him a lesson for you. Henry finally looked at him, his tone sharp enough to freeze the air. And who do you think you are, to help me? His eyes darkened. That album belonged to my sister. Since when did it become yours? Michael's face turned pale, his mouth opening and closing without sound. Henry took a step forward, his tall frame casting a shadow that completely covered Michael. You were about to hit him, weren't you? Michael swallowed hard, forcing a weak smile. Sir, you misunderstood, I was just. Henry let out a low chuckle, but his eyes were cold as ice. Remember this, Michael. From today on, anything that has to do with Lucas goes through me. Uncle, I tugged lightly on his sleeve, whispering, let's just go. Henry didn't give Michael a chance to speak again. He wrapped an arm around my shoulders and turned toward the SUV. When I glanced back, Michael's face was pale and twisted, his fists clenched tight, but he didn't dare follow. He was terrified of Henry. As soon as the car door shut, Henry's expression darkened. Why didn't you let me tell him? He asked, one hand gripping the steering wheel, the other holding my chin to make me look at him. You worried he'd find out we slept together? I bit my lip and admitted softly, I didn't want your reputation to be affected. Henry paused for a moment, then let out a short laugh. His grip on my chin softened, his thumb brushing against my lower lip. Now you're worried about that? His voice was teasing but low. You didn't seem so hesitant when you were the one pulling me in at the hotel. My ears burned. I've been hesitating for 6 years, I muttered. His breath hitched. The air in the car suddenly grew heavy. He slammed the brakes, and the SUV came to a sharp stop on the side of the road. Before I could react, he'd undone his seatbelt and leaned over me. 6 years? His voice was low and hoarse, his fingers tangling in my hair, forcing me to look up. "Lucas, explain what you mean by 6 years." My heart raced under his gaze. My lashes trembled. "It means I've liked you secretly, for a long time." Henry's breathing grew rougher. His thumb pressed hard against my lips. "Then don't move if you want me to stop," he said quietly. I turned my head away, nervous and shy, not knowing what to do with my hands. "Fool," he murmured, and kissed me anyway. I melted against him like a dessert offered up on a silver plate. His scent, clean sake and strength, wrapped around me completely. By the time a soft thud came from the back seat, the world was spinning. The album had fallen. I curled up in the passenger seat, face hot, catching the faint curve of a smile still playing on his lips. The SUV pulled into Henry's apartment garage. He turned off the engine but didn't get out right away. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, waving a hand in front of my face. The faint aroma of sake brushed over me, mingling with my own scent, a hint of sweet green plum. Together, they turned dizzyingly intoxicating. I brushed my fingers over his, rubbing against the scabbed bite mark on my neck, and looked up at him dreamily. "I was thinking about the first time you gave me an inhibitor." Henry's hand froze midair. 6. The first time I went through my secondary gender differentiation. I was curled up on a toilet seat in the school restroom, shaking. The burning pain in my neck glands blurred my vision. Outside, a few unclassified students were banging on the door, laughing. "Lucas, what are you hiding for? Let us help you out." "Yeah, show us what an omega's gland looks like. How does it taste when you bite it?" I held my head and prayed a teacher would walk by and save me. No one came. After what felt like forever, the noise outside suddenly stopped. I asked tentatively, "Teacher?" No one answered. Then, a small tube rolled under the door. It was an inhibitor. With trembling hands, I injected it into the back of my neck. When the haze in my head finally cleared and the heat subsided, I caught a faint whiff of alcohol in the air. Black leather shoes paced slowly outside, then stopped right in front of my stall. "Who are you?" I asked hoarsely. A low, deep voice answered, "Lucas, it's your uncle." After that incident, I was so terrified my legs gave out. Henry carried me home in his arms. It was only a 5-minute walk from school to my house. But that day, he walked 20 minutes, holding me the whole way. Henry was 12 years older than me. My parents were always away for work, so he often came over to take care of me. He was already a college graduate when I was still in elementary school. His name often appeared in finance news. The youngest heir, a rising star in business. And one of the top 3 dream alphas every Omega admired. On TV, he was always in a tailored suit, sharp and distant. Even his smile carried an air of cold precision. But when he came to my house, he became someone else. He'd crouch down to look me in the eye. Ask if my homework was hard. Or if I wanted him to attend my parent-teacher conference. He'd pull snacks out of his suit pocket like a magician. And stay up all night by my bedside when I had a fever. He never refused me anything. Time flew, and I entered high school. One day, an alpha who had confessed to me, and got rejected, cornered me in a stairwell and kissed me by force. That night, I had a dream. Someone cupped the back of my neck and kissed me. The taste cool and clean, like sake. His palm was warm, steady. When I opened my eyes, I saw Henry's lashes right in front of me. And the tiny mole on his throat. When I woke up, my sheets were damp. After that, I started avoiding him. Every time the doorbell rang, I ran to my room and pretended to study. When he came for dinner, I barely drank water. Afraid I'd have to go to the bathroom and accidentally run into him. I was terrified he'd notice the Omega scent growing stronger on me. And even more afraid he'd see through my shameful feelings. When I turned 18, my parents were in a bus accident on their way to surprise me for my birthday. It was raining on the day of the funeral. Everyone held umbrellas. No one wanted to stand near the Omega who had brought bad luck. Rain mixed with tears soaked into my collar. Then, a shadow fell over me. Henry stood behind me, holding a black umbrella. He tilted it slightly, covering me and the tombstone. But half of his own body was drenched in rain. When I looked up, there were dark circles under his eyes. As if he hadn't slept for days. "Lucas," he said softly, voice hoarse. "Don't be afraid." In that moment, I almost told him everything. All the secret longing I'd buried for years. But I bit my lip until I tasted blood. And stared at the picture of my mother on the gravestone. Henry didn't look anything like her. My mother was adopted. She left her family to marry my father. Michael, the man I later married, was originally chosen by my grandparents for me. As a political match between families. After my parents' death, that engagement became a burden. I could have turned to Henry. But ashamed of my feelings, I let myself fall for Michael's false kindness instead. When I saw Henry again, I was 20, and he was 32. He was dressed in his usual crisp suit. And in front of everyone, he placed my hand into Michael's. "Take good care of him," he told Michael. His tone calm, unreadable. But when he let go of my hand, I thought I saw his eyes turn red. After marriage, things went downhill. And I never had the courage to contact him again. Now, under the dim light filtering through the car window, I flipped to the last page of the photo album. Inside, hidden between the pages, was a photo cut in half. I was in my wedding suit. And Henry was standing beside me, brows furrowed. Looking like a man who couldn't bring himself to let go. 7. Henry unbuckled his seatbelt and leaned toward me. I said, "This is your fault." He wrapped his arms around me. His laugh low in his chest. "All right. It's all my fault. You don't even know what I'm blaming you for." I pushed weakly against him. "You admit guilt too easily." "I only do that for my partner." My ears burned red. It was hard to believe that the man who dominated every financial headline could lose control just because of my scent. That thought filled me with a secret thrill. "Why did you agree to marry Michael back then?" he asked. His palm covering the back of my hand. "If you didn't want to, I would have taken you away." "I was afraid you'd think I was disgusting," I said softly. "I was a coward." "What about you? What about me? What were your feelings for me?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a silver lighter. Fiddled with it, then put it back along with the half-open cigarette pack. He was quiet for a long moment before sighing. "I don't know," he said finally. "The first time I saw you, you stumbled into my arms. And my sister told you to call me uncle. Something inside me clicked. I wanted to protect you. Then, things happened. With her. With you. And by the time I realized what my feelings meant, I was handing your hand to my rival at the altar." His voice caught. "I'm sorry, Lucas. I was so stupid. I thought you were happy. So I stayed away." "It's okay," I murmured. "Right now, this is enough." Suddenly, a familiar heat bloomed low in my stomach. The glands at the back of my neck throbbed, burning. I grabbed his wrist, my nails digging into his skin. "What's wrong?" he asked. "The inhibitor, it's not working." I swallowed hard. "I injected it before I left, but..." Henry pressed the central lock button. The windows darkened instantly to opaque black. The SUV's back seats quietly reclined. "How many doses did you take today?" His voice was tight. His fingers tracing the inflamed gland on my neck. 3, I stammered. "It's been taking 5 lately to work." "That's insane," he snapped. 5 doses could land you in the ER. I tried to explain. But the wave of heat made me gasp instead. The scent of green plum flooded the car, thick and sweet. "Hold on," he said. "We're going home. I'll call a doctor." "I don't want a doctor." Fueled by the fever burning in my veins, I climbed onto his lap, my nose brushing against his neck. "I need you." He easily caught my wrists with one hand and pinned them above my head. "Do you even realize this garage has security cameras?" I nodded weakly. His breath grazed my ear. "Do you want the guards to see you like this?" "They won't," I cut in. "You'd never let that happen." He pulled off his tie and blindfolded me. In the dark, every touch felt amplified. I heard him make a call. "Cut power to the cameras in Zone B2 for 2 hours. Then his voice fell silent. And all I could feel was warmth. And the mingling of two scents, sake and green plum. Spreading through the air like something that could no longer be contained. Just as the air thickened with tension, a sudden ringtone cut through the silence. Henry didn't even glance at the screen, he declined the call. The elevator nearby chimed open. "Henry? Are you in the car?" It was his assistant's voice, approaching. "Sir, your father's looking for." Henry quickly grabbed his jacket and threw it over me. His scent surging so strong it made the air vibrate. The assistant's footsteps faltered. Then came hurried retreating steps. And the elevator doors closed again. Henry leaned closer, voice low. Now, where were we? 8. The craziness in the garage went on late into the night. When Henry carried me into the elevator wrapped in his suit, my glands were still throbbing. And the scent of sake mixed with the lingering green plum aroma of my heat. "Still uncomfortable," he murmured, brushing his nose against my burning earlobe. I shook my head and buried my face in his neck. He hadn't finished yet, leaving only a temporary mark. "Your father wants to see you," he said suddenly as the elevator went up, explaining the assistant's call. I shivered. Henry gently rubbed the back of my neck. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." The butler led us to the study, where my father was practicing calligraphy. The words, "family rules," were written boldly on the rice paper. "Kneel," he said without looking up. Henry didn't move. Instead, he shifted me slightly behind him. "Dad, if you want me to kneel, there should be a reason, right? You still know I'm your father." My father finally looked up, hawk-like eyes fixing on my face. "For a bastard Omega, you don't even attend family meetings? The project is all ready." "Do I ask you?" he snapped. "Lucas, was your mother seducing men like you are now?" The word stabbed my chest. I gripped the hem of my clothes, nails digging into my palms. Henry's aura dropped instantly. "Apologize to Lucas," he said. "I'm wrong," my father sneered. "I raised your sister for over 20 years, and she ran off with a poor artist. Now she's dead, and her child comes to ruin my son's life. This is incest." Henry overturned the redwood coffee table. "That's enough. Lucas and I have no blood relation. You drove my sister away, and now you're trying to drive him away." His face darkened. "For him, you've thrown aside your fatherly duties? You threw them aside first." Henry grabbed my hand and turned to leave. "Lucas, let's go home." Just as we opened the study door, high heels clicked down the hallway. My mother walked arm in arm with a young woman. "Mother," Henry paused slightly. She smiled. "Henry's back. Perfect timing, Bella just returned to the country today." Bella. I remembered her. Henry's childhood fiancée, a famous Omega socialite often seen in fashion magazines. She wore a matching suit and an ancestral jade necklace. "And who is this?" She tilted her head toward me, noticing the bite marks on my neck. Her smile froze for a moment. Henry wrapped his arm around my waist. "My partner." The shopping bags in her hands clattered to the floor. "Henry, what are you saying?" Mother stammered. "He's your sister's child, isn't he?" Bella let out a soft, sharp laugh. Auntie, did I come at the wrong time? About the engagement. She removed her jade necklace and placed it on the table, eyes glinting. Mother rushed to stop her. Henry watched coldly until Bella stood in front of me. Lucas, the adopted girl's child, she whispered close to my ear, voice only for me. Did you think you could take him away? Why didn't he mark you fully? Was it because he couldn't bear to? I flinched, shrinking behind Henry. Henry, I want to go home, I whispered. He squeezed my fingers and turned toward the door. Bella, I never agreed to that engagement. 9. Living at Henry's house felt like a surreal dream. Father's threats had no effect on him. He froze the overseas branch's authority and even suspended several projects, completely neutralizing my father. Then Mother started playing the family affection card. Every morning, the butler delivered soup she personally cooked. Sometimes, she even sent the bluebells she loved as a girl, reminding me of my social connection with Henry. Henry, in front of the butler, dumped the supplements into the trash. Don't drink this, it's cooling. It won't do you any good. He hired the best gland specialists to treat me. Long-term overuse of inhibitors had caused antibody issues. The doctor adjusted his glasses. If treatment continues, it will take at least 6 months. During that time, only alpha pheromones can soothe you. Will there be any after effects? Henry asked, frowning. The doctor looked at me meaningfully. Continued misuse could cause permanent gland atrophy and fertility issues. I clenched my fingers around my clothes. After the doctor left, Henry knelt on one knee, holding my cold hands. What are you afraid of? I already have a child with you. Another one won't be a problem. What about the company? He raised an eyebrow, then smiled. My child isn't grown yet and worries more than I do. Even if I lost the company, I could rebuild it. But there's only one Lucas, I put my baby first. I tried to act like a happy Omega for a while. When Henry had meetings, I stayed in his office's lounge to draw. During his lunch break, I rested on his legs while he massaged my glands. When he worked late, I sat with coffee until he fell asleep. But every night, after he was asleep, I quietly stood by the window, staring at the bluebells. Bella's words slithered through my mind like a snake. Why didn't he fully mark you? Moonlight filtered through the curtains, scattering over Henry's sleeping face. High cheekbones, long lashes, a sharp nose, he looked powerful even in sleep. I hesitated, fingertips hovering over his lips. How could someone like this alpha be mine? One night, another nightmare. Another bad dream? Henry's voice came softly from behind. I nearly knocked over my water cup in surprise. He was awake, leaning against the headboard, watching me. And no, I hurriedly wiped my tears. Did I wake you? He swung back the covers, bare feet on the carpet, walking toward me. Robe open at the chest. You little liar, he murmured, lifting me onto the window ledge, brushing his nose against my wet lashes. How many times this week, I held onto his robe, silent. Did anyone talk to you while I was gone? That day at home. Bella said. My voice was small as a mosquito. You also gave her a temporary mark. Henry froze, understanding. He had helped her when she was going through differentiation. I tried to explain, but he gently pressed my lips shut. Let me finish. How could you help? I thought, jealousy rising from remembering his help. It's not what you think. Back then, they were important partners. My compatibility with her was 60%, enough. To avoid suspicion, I secretly extracted my pheromones and gave them to her. I never even met her. And the engagement? Before she turned 18 and went abroad, my father arranged it to stabilize overseas business. I refused seriously at the time, and now, they couldn't force me into anything. Bella annoyed me, I didn't want to see her again. I buried my head in his chest. He pressed my nape, whispering softly, all right. Any more questions? He pressed me into the bed, fingers tracing under my pajama hem. If not, we can discuss the real matter. What matter? He unbuttoned my pajamas, guess. His eyes roiled with a dark tide, swallowing me. Not desire, but something even more terrifying. Care. 10. Charity auction. I sat next to Henry, idly rubbing the edge of my bidding paddle. I shouldn't have let my temper get the better of me. Coming here with him felt like a mistake. Nervous? Henry's fingertip lightly tapped my tense hand. If you don't like it, we can leave. I shook my head, but my gaze drifted toward the front. Bella sipped champagne elegantly, adjusting the jade necklace on her neck. Everyone around kept glancing at her. The auctioneer tapped the gavel. Lot 17, Spring by the late painter Leon. Starting bid, 500,000. Polite applause filled the room. Bella gracefully rose, smiling at the crowd. This is an original I brought from abroad, donated for charity today. The painting on the big screen was exquisite. Willows drooped over sparkling water, Leon's signature hazy brushwork clear. Bidding quickly soared to 5 million. Bella had noticed me early on, shooting me a provocative glance as the price rose. 5.2 million, anyone? The auctioneer called. I bit my lip, hesitated, then stood and raised my paddle. Henry immediately grasped my wrist. Want it? No, I took a deep breath, my voice carried clearly in the silent hall. This painting is a fake. Gasps spread through the audience. Bella's smile froze. Lucas, you can eat anything, but you can't talk nonsense. The auctioneer coughed awkwardly. Sir, we have a professional certificate, and the expert inspected it. Certificates can be forged. Experts can be wrong. I stepped closer to the display, fingertips hovering over the painting. Leon's authentic leaves were painted with special mineral pigments, glowing faint blue under UV light. At first, the staff hesitated, but under Henry's insistence of double-check, they reluctantly brought the UV lamp. The light swept across the canvas. The leaves didn't glow. Bella lunged to grab the lamp, face turning pale. I pointed to the almost invisible signature in the lower right corner. Standing beside the podium, I explained calmly. Leon signed his late works this way, but Spring by the Lake was painted during his prime. His style at that time was different. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Who's this Omega? Can we trust him? Probably trying to show off. Young people these days, all want fame overnight. Not necessarily. Look who he's with. Henry was suddenly behind me, steadying my waist with his hand. I looked back at him. Go on, he urged. There's another flaw. I pointed to the water reflection. He had mild color weakness, the water's contrast in this painting seemed slightly off. But the colors here were perfect. Bella's face turned from red to white. What do you know? You didn't even go to college, and you rushed to marry Michael. Few could stand beside Henry and also be connected to Michael. Soon, people guessed my identity. Most comments weren't flattering. I was accepted into Europe's top art academy at 16. Henry silenced the murmurs sharply. Whether he goes to university is his choice. He could enroll tomorrow if he wanted. As for the real painting, I avoided Henry's burning gaze and addressed the auctioneer. According to Leon's agent's diary, this piece ended up with a fan who made a will on the day he acquired it. The painting was buried with him. An elderly man stood. Unproven claims. I checked my phone, then whispered to the auctioneer. Half an hour later, the auctioneer announced the painting passed. No reason was given. The hall erupted again. Bella staggered back, her jade necklace fell to the floor. Henry bent and picked it up, slipping it into his pocket before everyone's eyes. What's not meant for you will never be yours. On the way back, Henry suddenly stopped by the river. When did you learn to judge art? He asked. I know a little, I smiled. I could tell this was fake because a professor who contacted me long ago was a fan. I had to know a lot about her collection. He caught my fingers and kissed them gently. How many things are there that I don't know? Many, uncle, I whispered near his ear. For example, right now, I really want you to pin me against the steering wheel. The scent of sake flooded the car. He grabbed my wrist. Lucas, you're playing with fire. The car windows fogged over, reflecting our intertwined silhouettes. Ever since being close with Henry, I became an Omega who constantly sought him, unchecked. One thought crystallized in my mind. I don't want to ever let Henry go again. 11. After the charity auction, my relationship with Henry became semi-public. Entertainment and finance news shared the headlines, each more glaring than the last. Heir suspected of forbidden romance with sister's son. Scandal in the elite, Henry abandons business for love? I curled up on the sofa, scrolling through my tablet. Every article stabbed at the heart, and the comments section was even worse. Some accused me of shamelessly seducing my uncle, others mocked Henry for being blinded by desire. Some even dug up old stories about my mother, claiming we inherited the same wiles. Henry pushed the door open. I was busy defending myself with a burner account. Don't worry, he said, taking the tablet. Those old board members can't stir up trouble. I looked up. There were faint dark circles under his eyes. Stocks. Let them fall, he said, loosening his tie with one hand, leaning down to kiss me, using my wholly owned company to buy back shares at a low price. His phone buzzed non-stop. The screen kept showing, secretary. Henry pressed the power button. Off. A week later. The group held an impromptu press conference. I hid in the lounge, watching Henry through the one-way glass. He wore a perfectly tailored dark gray suit, his brows showing calm confidence from years of experience. Regarding recent rumors, I am here to respond officially, his voice carried through the hall. My sister was adopted by my parents. Lucas and I share no blood relation. Our relationship is legal and proper. Flashes went off non-stop. Mr. Henry, will this affect the cooperation between the two families? And Bella, what is her response? There are reports you gave up the European merger for Lucas. Henry raised a hand for silence. First, our cooperation is based on business, not personal feelings. Second, the merger was delayed because we found a better opportunity, unrelated to my personal life. Third, he suddenly looked toward the lounge, eyes softening. Lucas, come here. I froze, thinking my ears were deceiving me, until the secretary gently nudged me. Under the spotlight, Henry took my hand, fingers intertwining. He announced two things, raising our joined hands. First, Lucas and Michael's divorce is finalized. Details are in the apology statement. Second, he paused, lips curling in a rare smile, we will have our wedding next month. Henry, wait, we still have problems. We passed through the financial district, stopped at a traffic light. What are you thinking? Henry squeezed my fingers. Neon lights flickered across his profile. I was still reeling from standing shoulder to shoulder with him under the spotlight. A new kind of impulse surged within me. Blood rushing, desperate to be strong enough to protect him the next time the world aimed at him. Uncle, I want to continue studying. Henry raised an eyebrow. Which art academy? I can arrange it. Business. I interrupted. I want to learn commerce. For a moment, his expression went blank. Why not art? I fiddled with his cufflink. I want to help you in the future. After a long pause, Henry pulled me tightly into his arms. His heart pounded. Fool, he whispered, almost sniffing. You don't need to compromise for me. I'm not compromising. I tilted my head to kiss his jaw. I want to protect my alpha. He tried to speak several times but couldn't. Finally, he just held me tighter. The skyscraper screens outside flashed news of the group's stock rebounding. The alpha, 12 years older, buried his face in my neck, damp with sweat. Extra, Henry's perspective. The first time I met Lucas, he was just 3. My sister held his hand, walking with the man who had taken her away to meet me. The little guy stumbled straight into my arms, milk scent mixed with the smell of grass. "Uncle." Maybe he had been playing, his face lifted toward me, tears on his lashes. I knelt to tie his shoes, thinking how bright his eyes were, like black grapes soaked in spring water. The 12-year age difference made me instinctively see him as someone to protect. Every time I returned from a trip, my suit pockets were filled with the latest candies. Watching him puff his cheeks with sweets while drawing was my most relaxed moment. Until high school. He began avoiding me. At the time, the group faced internal struggles, and I was cornered on the board. I took his distance as a normal teenage reaction. I thought when he grew older, he'd be his old self again, sticking close to me, saying he loved his uncle most of all. Until his parents' funeral. 18-year-old Lucas stood in the rain, black suit hanging loosely, seemingly ready to be blown away by the wind. "Don't be afraid." My hand holding the umbrella trembled. He looked up at me, raindrops rolling off his lashes, overlapping with the memory of the little milk-scented boy he once was. Less than 2 years later, he told me he was marrying someone. That night, I drank until I blacked out. On my phone, the exclusive album I had made for Lucas, tens of thousands of photos, all locked. At the wedding, I personally handed him to Michael. His fingers icy, the wedding ring pressing into my palm painfully. When the officiant said the groom could kiss the bride, I turned and left, unable to stay another second. For the next 4 years, I tracked him through weekly reports from my secretary. But it wasn't enough. Our next encounter was in a hotel bathroom. He was crying over the phone, calling me uncle. Now. He napped in my arms, his toes brushing against my calves unconsciously. On the desk lay his business school acceptance letter, next to a half-finished sketch. "Henry, 2 o'clock meeting," the secretary knocked. I raised a finger to my lips. The Omega in my arms wrinkled his nose.